It's no surprise that the pandemic has impacted our shopping behaviors. Perhaps being in lockdown meant it had some of us spending our money shopping online. And when these restrictions lifted, malls opened, it only felt right to take advantage of store sales. Plus, the opportunity of being able to step foot in public places again felt liberating. But if I were to be honest, it never seemed like that last thing I told myself I needed or wanted was ever the last thing. Or I find myself upgrading my wardrobe items when something better came along. It was obvious that I'd get excited over something nice I got in that moment, but the next day I would find myself looking for the next wishlist item, almost as if I had forgotten what I already have. So how do we decide how much is enough? And what are these habits that make us feel guilty? How do we start to want less? And is it even possible? For myself, I learned to draw the line when I found items in my closet in my house that had been completely forgotten about. Here are a few helpful questions I started asking myself whenever I'd get the temptation to go and shop or buy more. How am I prioritizing my spending? For instance, when my cat was unwell and kept throwing up her food, taking my cat to the vet and spending $400 felt like a reasonable and justifiable expense. In hindsight, I'm glad to have that $400 put towards an emergency vet fund versus impulsively spending it on something I probably didn't exactly need. For me, it's about being able to prioritize and budget our wants and setting some money aside for the rainy days. This looks different for each person, but it's probably a poor shopping choice if it puts you in a financially difficult situation when it comes time to buying things that really matter. Am I buying for myself or for validation? I used to shop a lot in my early 20s. But I was buying things that other people loved or approved to validate my purchases and in return validate me. These days, I make sure that what I buy is for myself, not because the item is popular or trending, or just so I could impress some people on social media. Placing our worth in people and materialistic stuff actually hurts our own self-worth. If we were to hypothetically lose everything we have one day, our self-esteem would drop if we believe the superficial lie that it's our stuff that makes us who we are. We all have worth and intrinsic value regardless of the things we have or don't have. Am I grateful? It helps if we show gratitude towards our belongings and want what we already have. If we are able to be grateful for what is present, it can help us to not always be looking into the future. The idea that if we had all we wanted in our wardrobe, that we would be happy and sufficient just isn't realistic. There will always be new styles, trends, and things that come in a variety of colors and limited editions that we would feel bad missing out on if our idea of a complete and perfect wardrobe is based on having it all. When in reality, our wardrobes are always going to be a work in progress, and that is okay. Be grateful and start with what you already have instead of waiting for the next thing to show up. Do I have the time and energy to declutter and manage my stuff? I realize it's not exactly the stuff that provides us with satisfaction, and definitely not the accumulation of stuff. It's actually the experiences. And stuff just helps us provide us with good experiences until it gets to the point of being too much, and in which it becomes stressful. With the closet full of clothes, I can only imagine the amount of work that comes with so much stuff, like decluttering or creating multiple outfits, and how much of it can we actually use or wear. We all need to find the balance of owning stuff, and how much of it is actually reasonable without it stressing us out. Are there other ways to spend my time that makes me feel excited and motivated? I do not watch haul videos, and there was once upon a time when each unboxing and new monthly favorites video was almost like a checklist for me. But enjoying life doesn't mean we need to invest in the newest thing or to always constantly be buying. It's also about creating less opportunities to shop. Are there any hobbies that you could pick up to fill your time with? Currently for me, it's making this autumn DIY wreath with dried orange slices. It It's a great use of resources and materials that I already have at home. The oranges didn't taste good, and the dried eucalyptus is from my shower head, so this was the perfect way to upcycle them. How am I setting healthy and realistic boundaries for shopping? I find that when I set price boundaries for items, it makes me less likely to buy the item, and I'll either wait for a sale or until the price drops. What I do is I create a list of all the items that I want. With each item, I give it the max price that I would pay for it. As an example, let's say it's $25 for jeans and $20 for sweatshirts. After that, I just wait and see. Sometimes I realize that while waiting for the item to show up in my price point, that I no longer really want that item. It's easy to be tempted to shop and own a lot of things, but I believe that if we are more mindful about where we put our money, and by setting up some boundaries, we can be more intentional with our spending habits. Taking inventory is a great way to help us realize what things are essential and what things we could do without. And as a result, I discovered these 10 things that I no longer buy. I hope this next video on the 10 things I stopped buying further helps you along your minimalism journey and in buying less.